I'm so happy to have so many of you guys join us from all around the world for this debate. We're going to have two debates going on. First, Team UK versus the US. We'll have Jonathan and Brian from Eton College representing the UK, debating Carrie and Kevin from Horseman School from the US. In the other Zoom, we'll have Japan versus Italy with Li Wei from Harrow International School for Japan, debating Vittorio from Rome International School. Today, these teams will be debating the release,
respond to the other team's responses, and then another 2-minute crossfire where you can ask about the responses, and then a 3-minute summarizing speech that basically just summarizes the entire round, and then that's it. Each team gets 2 minutes of preparation times where they can contact their partners and ask questions about what they want each other to say. And if you cite any evidence, the other team can ask to see it to check its credibility and if you are interpreting it correctly.
Panel, insofar as the whole problem with the nuclear waste, it can be directed back to the mistakes of one country. It's completely unjustified from a principled point of view, but also on all the practical things we'll tell you later, for them to be perpetrating that problem onto the rest of the world and onto the environment at large. I'm so proud to propose 3 things in this speech then. Firstly, on why this is principally unjustified. Secondly, on the environmental harms. And thirdly, on the precedents.
Time starts now. We affirm with an observation a significant shift in public perception in acceptance has occurred. Japan has consistently referenced the International Atomic Energy Agency's declaration that it is safe to release the water. This persistent messaging has led to a growing acceptance among the public, as highlighted in a South China Morning Post article by David McNeil on August 7, 2023.
So, releasing nuclear water into the ocean, there are detrimental impacts on marine life and ecosystems. Radioactive substances can accumulate in the food chain, leading to long-term damage to marine organisms and potentially affect the entire ecosystem. And another undeniable fact is that this could also affect the economy in neighboring countries. For example, China. In 2021, the output value of China's mariculture industry reaches 430.17 billion yuan, and the output of mariculture products reached 22,11,400 tons.
Now, on our contention, the first thing that they tell you is that China will be affected by these radiological particles. That's definitely not true, because what they have responded to is that Japan has spent billions of dollars filtering the water that they are talking about. This also takes out their second response, which tells you that radiological particles will get spread, because insofar as Japan has spent billions of dollars filtering out these same radiological particles, there are no particles to spread. Thirdly, they tell you that there will be tensions on Japan and trade restrictions that will be imposed on Japan. The only example of this happening is China imposing trade restrictions on Japan. We would argue that this would have happened anyways, because China and Japan have a bitter history lasting 4 decades. At that point, China will look at anything to impose trade restrictions and impose embargoes, whatnot, on Japan, because they simply hate Japan and would have done it anyways. This is just an opportunity to harp on Japan's economic status. But then fourthly, they tell you that we can just continue to store the water. This is not true, because what our evidence says is that Japan does not have the capacity to store any more water. At this point, it's definitely a lot worse, because in their world, Japan would have just continued storing this unfiltered, a lot more radiologically poisoned water. On our side, it's a lot different, because Japan has spent billions of dollars filtering the water and then it starts releasing it. That's the key difference between their side and our side. And then finally, they tell you that we can just filter the water. We agree. This is the heart of our argument. Japan has spent billions of dollars filtering this water, which is why it is releasing it now. Let's go to their case.
I'm the Japan team, and our statement is that Japan is entitled to release nuclear wastewater from the Fukushima Daiichi water plant. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'd like to discuss a topic that has generated significant controversy and debate on the global stage. That's why we are debating this. Japan's decision to release nuclear wastewater into the ocean While the idea of releasing such waste into our oceans may initially sound alarming, it is essential to consider the context and reasons behind Japan's decision. First and foremost, we must acknowledge that Japan has faced an unparalleled challenge since the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster in 2011. This catastrophic event, triggered by a massive earthquake led by a tsunami, led to meltdowns in 3 nuclear reactors, resulting in the release of radioactive materials. In the years following this disaster, Japan has been diligently working to manage and contain the contaminated water that accumulated on the Fukushima site. However, despite the best efforts, space is running out, and a solution is urgently needed. So, wait a minute. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
So this is a statement from Aikimura cutting up a fish sample at the Tarachina lab, about an hour's drive from the now crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. So, Ms. Kiruma said that in this statement, it said, earlier this month, Japan received the green light to start pumping more than 1 million tons, about the same volume as 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools, of the treated water that has been used to cool the melted reactors, has accumulated more than 1,000 tanks by now. They have reached capacity. It needs to go somewhere.
In conclusion, Japan's decision to release contaminated water from the Fukushima nuclear plant into the Pacific Ocean is a matter of profound concern, with implications that reverberate on both environment and international front. This move poses a serious threat to the marine ecosystem, compounding the ecological damage already inflicted by Fukushima disaster. Furthermore, Japan's approach lacks foresight in terms of proper waste management.